Hello and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Munoz. This is part of my 29 Days of Magic series where I interview an amazing Black woman every single day for Black History Month. And today I am so delighted to have Genetta Robinson, who's a senior manager of inclusive and brand marketing at Hulu. She has such an amazing story. It's such a wonderful listen. Take a second and hear her story right now. Hey, Genetta.
Hey, Laura. Thanks for having me.
I'm so delighted to have you on the podcast. As you know, first question, always the same, answers always hilarious. Yours, I have no doubt, will be. Genetta, what was your first job?
My first job was, this be a paid job or just when you worked really hard?
Yeah, it could be the one. Whatever comes to mind.
Got it. My first job was being an advice columnist for my county newspaper.
Okay. It
was Ask Genetta, and I was all of 16 years old entering my junior year of high school.
How did you become an advice columnist at 16 years old? You wise beyond your years?
So I knew I wanted to go into media and journalism forever. And at that time, my thing was to be, the next Oprah or the first Genetta. And my auntie Bev knew this and was always a champion for me. My family's just always been a champion for my dreams and my goals. And the newspaper had started a section called Teen Voice, where they were giving teens in the county the chance to work for the newspaper. And so you do regular reporting, do reviews on movies, on new albums or records or cassette tapes that were coming out. And then they were like, we should have an advice column. I was just like, I like to give people stuff and tell them what they should do. So
did you have some memorable columns where you gave some good advice, like you should actually listen to this song by Mary J. Blige or go see this movie?
It was a lot of stuff of like, I really like this guy, but he likes my best friend instead. What should I do? And I was just like, forget him, like somebody else. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And I guess I had, of course, I would enlist my friends, like, okay, y'all, what if this really, really happened? Like, what would you do? How would you respond? And so a lot of times I would pull into my mom, my dad, my brother and say, this just doesn't make any sense. And then there were some serious topics, about I don't really feel so good. And, I'm thinking about, not going to school or cutting school, or my parents don't have a lot of money and I'm thinking about betting on this game. So then I had to bring in just real sound resources on just like gambling and drugs and alcohol and stress and how to just be the best manager of yourself and your lifestyle at the young ages of, 13 to 17 or 18.
Wow, that is a lot to have on your plate at age 16, homegirl. And it's interesting because how often did that column come up?
Once a week. It was weekly.
And was it in an actual newspaper or was it online at that point?
Well, okay, so not to date myself, but it was in the actual newspaper. And it came out, it was the Burlington County Times. And it was so cool because, I just wrote in. Of course, I went to church, people from church, like, oh, Genetta, I saw your column. I was like, oh, thank you. But one time I had a moment when I went to the grocery store and someone was like, you're extra. And I was like, I am. I didn't put two things together. Like, oh, they actually see my picture and my column in the newspaper every single week. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. And this clearly was beyond your years and letting folks know what they need to do and giving the advice. Gee, I wonder how that would correlate into your current job. See, this is why I always ask this question, because it's always so fascinating when folks talk about the job that pops into their head first as their first job and how it correlates to what they do now. And it's so fascinating in terms of like those lessons that we learned early on resonate with us as we get older and the choices that we made when it comes to our careers. So
yeah. Before I went to Syracuse, I quickly learned the who, what, where, when, and why, and how of journalism, and how to do your lead and what to start with, and how to complete with a strong finish. So it definitely did prepare me for going to Newhouse and then doing broadcast journalism and all that jazz.
Awesome. Okay, so we go from Ask Genetta to where we are now. What has that career journey been like?
Oh, wow. What I'm doing now, okay, so I went to school to be a news reporter. And it was fun, but I didn't want to stay there. And then I did some production. And then I did the page program at NBC and ended up doing a lot of rotations and landed in ad sales marketing. I didn't know what ad sales marketing was before I landed the opportunity to do the rotation. And it was just a reality of just like, oh, wow, like I didn't realize that when you're watching the local channels that advertisements are paying for that to be on television as opposed to having like, a cable channel, so to speak. And in doing that work, it was fun. I had a great time. And then I learned more about just advertising and ad sales marketing, and then more about brand marketing. And it was like, what would the experience be like to market the benefits of really tuning into a brand and not just a channel or just a product, so to speak. And so now I'm doing, was multicultural marketing or inclusive marketing with Hulu. And it's all the things. It's a little bit of, having to interview people and ask the right questions. It's a little bit of reporting back of what I find in data analysis and research. It's a lot of, just getting the temperature of how folks are thinking or feeling about content, about products and brands, and how to best position Hulu as, the streamer of choice that really has your just desired entertainment interests in mind and at heart.
Awesome. That's so cool. Now, for you, I'm sure the road to like getting to where you are right now was all kinds of windy. Talk to me about a time you had a challenge where you're like, there's no way I'm going to get through this. And then you did.
I've had a couple of those times. I think of a good one. I think there's sometimes when, I've had a couple of different roles and opportunities, all blessings and all learnings with just points of just like, I didn't know that. How does that make me feel? And to just try to like summarize it, I think there's sometimes when you're in a role and you either love the people that you're working with or you love the role and the job that you have. And I've had a lot of times of really loving the people that I work with, but the work wasn't making that much of a difference. It was input and output, input and output. And what I enjoy most about my role now, the challenges is just like I have an opportunity to really impact what people get to view and take in, and what really resonates with the audiences that I'm trying to best serve and best reach via my role at Hulu.
That's so helpful. And, I think that's the thing. It's like, well, you're going to be in those situations where you're like, oh, Lord. But and then you figure it out. When you and I chatted, you talked about how the fact that you took a break and then you came back and what that transition was like. And I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that.
Okay, cool. So let me just do like a quick run through. So went to Syracuse. Went right back and got my master's in media management. I did production for a production house in Philadelphia called Banyan, where I worked on a dating story and a baby story, wedding story, and trading spaces. Then I went to NBC in New York, and I did the rotations, and I landed in ad sales marketing, was there for a little over 7 years. My husband and I were expecting our first child, and the commute was 4 hours, a little bit too long. So then I transitioned to Burlington Stores Corporate. I did partnership marketing. That was fun. I did the Good Morning America One Quote One Heart campaign. And I started the women's dress campaign that raised just over $1 million in its first year of really just amplifying heart health awareness for women. And I was there, and it was an opportunity to, do a different type of marketing because it was partnership marketing. But it wasn't giving me that same rush and drive of going to New York City every day. And my husband was just like, hey, if you want to just take a break, you don't have to work. And I was like, say it 3 times. And He's like, "Babe, you don't have to work." And I was like, well, okay, that's one. He's like, "Babe, you really don't have to work." And I was like, okay, one more. He was like, "Genetta, you don't have to work." And I was just like, wow, I don't. Like, I can just be your beautiful wife and, be home with our then at time, our first daughter. And so then I transitioned and, ended up being home for, what I thought would be about 2 years, ended up being about 5 years, because then being home, it was hard to transition back into corporate. And while I was home with my daughter, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Of course, all of my peers were continuing to grow, becoming, directors and VPs and SVPs at the top media networks and locations in the world. And I was starting to feel like, am I missing out? And so we had our one daughter, then we were expecting our second daughter. And by the time our youngest was 2, I was like, okay, I got back to work. And so I became a college professor. And that's when social media was really starting to pick up and people were finding their new roles on Twitter and Instagram and, making sure their LinkedIn profiles were correct. And so I had my college class. They were a mixture of freshmen and sophomores in college, help me to create my social profile and really get up to speed on, finding my next role. And they all came out the class with flying colors and great grades because I found my next role at CBS via a Twitter message. And then, of course, I used my my connections and then found out, some former colleagues who were at CBS, and then connected all the dots and ended up getting my next role there, which was strategic marketing at CBS. And so while it was, great to be home and be that stay-at-home mom, or my husband, titled me the COO of our household. And I love that title. I love that role. I really wanted to get back into just working because I felt I had, this great degree, this great pedigree of experience. And I wanted to also show my 2 daughters that you could be super and amazing in many different facets of life. And so that was my break. That was, longer than expected. And then getting back into the workforce with CBS. After CBS, I went back to NBC. After NBC, I fell into doing BIPOC marketing for Broadway shows via a relationship, someone that I had met years before commuting on the train in New York City. And then I came back and landed at Hulu.
Wow. I think, and it's also pretty incredible because I think so many women think about this as part of their career. Like, what happens if I take a break? How can I find my way back? And it's important to realize that you're not the same person. Well, I mean, it's interesting. Like, we're watching this, we're talking after the Super Bowl where Rihanna came back last night. And of course, I'm pregnant with kid number 2, and she's coming back in the way she feels the best way she wants to. Yeah. I will perform this way. I will love the body that I'm in right now, and you all will enjoy, which you all did.
And you will enjoy, and I will rub my belly while I do it. And she looked amazing. I loved, and I remember Rihanna made a comment, and actually her name is Rihanna because Gail King corrected that on air this morning. Yeah. But I remember a comment from Rihanna that she just felt more empowered and, more motivated, more inspired now that she is a mom. And, everyone may not be a biological mom, but there are definitely moments, opportunities when women have just been that voice or that support or that encouragement to continue someone to really step out on, their abilities, step out on faith and do something that they have not done before. And, speaking of being on break and being a mom, definitely having my 2 girls, Vivian and Victoria, has been every single bit of life changing. Like the things that I do, I don't do for Genetta. I do for and because of them.
That's so awesome. Speaking of your amazing daughters, do you have a little career already because they're tiny prodigies?
They do. So together combined, they have Viore Designs. They do custom jewelry and t-shirts and other items that they put their branding on. And they encourage me. They are entrepreneurs, something that I'm just like, okay. And so my brother, who has passed away, my brother set them up and taught them, be the employer, not just the employee. And so the girls are fire. Viore Designs is kicking off. They have a couple of interviews coming up, and I'm really proud of them. And Vivian, our eldest, is also, I say aspiring, but she's an actress. She's an actress. She's a singer. She's a fashion designer. And Victoria, our younger daughter, she is an artist. Victoria has an eye for detail that is amazing. And what I love about her is that she tells you exactly what she's thinking, without hesitation. And it comes out full of love and directness. Full of love and directness. And so both of them individually are amazing. As as just a unit, they're just every bit of awesome. Every bit of awesome. We call them Viv and Tori, and they're becoming known as Viore Designs. But thank you for the chance to just shout them out. They're the best ever.
Of course. And also, how old are they?
Right. So Viv is 12 and Victoria is 8. And they are doing the thing, like doing the thing. Like I often wear their jewelry, and I was traveling for work, and they had a vending event, and I went to another occasion later on, and I saw someone. I was like, "Your jewelry is gorgeous." She's like, "Oh, what is that part of this group?" Her daughter's made. I was just like, "Wait, those are my daughters." Oh, so I come home. I'm like, "Viv, Tor, I saw this lady wearing this really dope bracelet. Can I get one?" They were like, "Oh, that's going to cost you $15." $15? I said, "There's no family discount." Mom, this is a business, and we have to pay for our product materials, and then there's supply and demand. I was just like, okay. All right. I said, "But I am your ambassador. I wear."
I would say like you are an influencer for them. Like, come on.
Oh, is there a rate for that? And they were like, no. No. And then here they go. "Now, what color did you want again?" I was just like, But my brother taught them well. He taught them really, really well. He would
absolutely like no freebies. I mean, hey, listen, I get it.
Yeah. And then grandma, of course, buys all the pieces. They're like, "Grandma buys everything. We don't have enough things to sell it to restock up." And I was like, "Well, she's one of your top customers. Keep selling to her." So, but they're all over. They have their Instagram, Viore Designs, and they're doing all types of like vendor fairs and events that are local and are going across state lines. So I'm proud of them.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love it. Yeah. So, thinking about all the amazing stuff you've been able to do with your career and with your life, what do you think you tell 18-year-old Genetta?
18-year-old Genetta, I would let her know that there are going to be some nooks and crannies, some interesting turns, but remember what your mom and your dad and your brother always taught you, that you can do anything. You can be anything. And with God, all things are possible. No dream is too big. No task is too small. I find now that I'm moving up a little bit more in my career that, some people that I work with are just like, "Oh, well, I don't do that. Like, I don't stop and, run copies, or I don't, grab coffee." And I didn't have to do those particular things, but it's being humble. It's recognizing that, you do have a place, and you do have a position, and you do have opportunity. Be grateful, be thankful, be appreciative, but also make sure that you bring people up to where you are as well. What's for you is for you. Nobody can take it. Nobody can steal it. Nobody can have it. It already has your name on it. And so I would just remind 18-year-old Genetta that your path is laid, and you will walk it with grace and dignity and all the love and support that you've always had.
I love that. That's so good. Good. Go ahead, Genetta. So obviously, you're doing all this amazing work. You have this amazing job. You have the tiny entrepreneurs who are killing the game. What do you do for Genetta? What do you do for your self-care?
Oh, I love self-care. So So, of course, I love shopping. Of course, I like going to the spa. Of course, I love, getting my nails done, frequently. But I'm also trying to do a better job of sitting still and getting back to reading books. I used to do that all the time, and it's really carving out time in the day to just sit still and read a book or meditate or journal. So that's what I'm doing for self-care. And then just, reflecting on like, wow, sometimes we move so fast that we don't realize what we've accomplished. And if you take a moment and just see like, wow, I did that, then for me, it gives me just comfort, like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I'm moving in the right direction, taking the right steps. But it also encouraged me like, okay, well, if you did that, then you know that you can continue to do something better or different or another thing that's going to, position you, your family, or just your role and your reason for existing to just be in a better place. So self-care is doing all the things that make me feel, like fun and free and gorgeous and beautiful. I love hanging out with my line sisters. I'm a lady of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and we definitely put in self-care and having a good time as we're doing service to all mankind. And then hanging out with my hubby is self-care. He's the best in the world.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, the being still part is actually really important. And, it's funny because, like, part of the reason I do 29 days of magic is because of what you just said, that you have to look remark on. I'm like, wait, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes we, especially as Black women, have no time to do that. And so my whole thing about doing 29 days is to give you all a chance to, one, shout yourselves out, and remark upon like, you did that. And it's really important because I think sometimes we are so go, 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 go. We don't realize like how much we've done, and that will take us to the next 80,000 things we're going to do because we've done this other amazing dope stuff. So it's really important that be part of any conversation that you ever have and be like, yeah, I did that. No,
Yeah. That, and then I also, my parents have taught me to, give honor and respect, of course, but to give flowers while people are still here and can smell them and appreciate them for their beauty. And, one of the campaigns that I'm really proud of is what we're doing right now with Hulu. And I've changed it from Black History Always to Black Stories Always, because we are past, we are also present in future and forward and shaping the culture. And the campaign is giving flowers and giving, A-list talent the opportunity to stop and pause and thank someone, thank their mentors and their mentees and their peers and their personal loved ones, like, while you're here, because life is short. Our days are expected, but what will happen is unexpected often. And sitting still and, giving praise and adoration and thankfulness for who people are, not only what they do with you or for you, but just for who they are, and saying, I give you flowers. And so I give you flowers, Laura, for, even, calling me up and saying like, I want to shout you. I'm just like, shout me out for what? I haven't done anything. But thank you for having the platform where you give folks just a chance to really just look back into like, wow, I did do some things, like that's not bad.
Oh, thank you, Genetta. I appreciate that. And I love this Hulu campaign. That's fantastic. Because again, there are so many people. I mean, if I sat down on a list of the folks I'd want to give thank you to, and flowers to, I'd be here a while. Because there's a long list. And it's interesting because it's so surprising and remarkable, the folks who come out of nowhere. Because there'll be people who you've known for a long time and they're like, consistent. And then there'll be people who you just met. You're like, wow, holy, thank you. And so it really is a beautiful thing to kind of give and take with that. So I receive the flowers. Thank you very much, Genetta. Because I think it's really important to also receive it, say thank you, and keep it going.
Yeah.
And the last question for you, do you have a give and or an ask of the audience? So this could be shouting out a certain company that you love, or it could be a book you've read, some good advice, anything you want.
That's a good question. Do I have a give of the audience? I think that would be my give or my request of the audience is, don't delay, don't waste any time in connecting with people that you know personally already, that you love, or that maybe a couple of degrees of separation that you admire. Texting is good, emailing is good, but when's the last time someone picked up the phone and like said, I just called to say I love you? So my encouragement or my give would be, tell someone now, how you appreciate them, what you value of them, how they've poured into you or your life or your career or your trajectory or just your being in existence. Don't wait, don't delay. Tell them, because that one note, that one compliment, that one, hey, I noticed you do this and I really appreciate it. You don't know the impact or the change that can have on not only their life, but them in that very moment. We can dress up and look to the nines, but you never know how someone is feeling on the inside. And that one call, that one word, that one beat can make all the difference for them and for you. But really, it's more about giving than receiving to make all the difference for them.
I love, love, love that. And you're so right, because a nice kind word on a Monday morning can do worlds of good for folks. And you never know, you never know what people are going through. So I think it's a wonderful, wonderful gift. Genetta, you are amazing. I adore you. We're going to put all the details about the girls' company in the show notes so folks can go follow these amazing young women whose mother, Genetta, is fantastic. Like, we want to support our tiny entrepreneurs who are 12 and 8 at killing the game. And Genetta, you were just such a delight and so wonderful. I love everything that you're doing and how you shout out and put folks in room. You speak people's names in rooms that they didn't even think they would be part of. So I thank you. And it's so delightful to have you as part of 29 Days of Magic.
Thank you, Laura. I'm still over here like pinching myself. 29 Days of Magic. But thank you. You have no idea. I appreciate it. And I thank you so, so, so very much.
Awesome. And that is our show.